Thank you very much for people who attended or joined early or joined on time. Welcome to our webinar. Today's topic is, let me get the next slide, is linking IT costs with business decisions using proven optics. We're going to have three speakers on the stage. I'm there on the left. My name is Hannes Hirvikallio. I'm the managing partner in the Cloud People, responsible for our partnerships. We have Claire, who's a customer of Proven Optics from Centrica. And then we have Bill Miller, who's the founder, co-CEO of Proven Optics. Guys, do you quickly just want to say hi?
Yeah, hi, I'm Claire. I work for Centrica. I'll probably give you a little bit more about who I am just when I start off my presentation and to why I'm involved with Proven Optics.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Bill Miller, welcome. Looking forward to the conversation.
Good. And that's a good pointer, Bill. So if you have any questions, just feel free to post them in the chat, and then we'll handle the questions in a discussion later on. Or if you have questions and you'd like to reach out to us afterwards, that also works for us. But today's agenda is going to be around me first doing the intro. So I'm going to do the intro to our company. What is it that we do with Proven Optics? How is the partnerships formalized? Then we're going to hear from Bill talking about what Proven Optics can normally do for customers and how do you link IT costs with business decisions. And then Claire from Centrica is going to talk about how they have implemented, how they are using Proven Optics and how they see using that solution. And if you have any questions during the webinar, just feel free to post them in the chat, and then we'll take the questions when they arrive. But all right, I will start a bit of a brief intro into the Cloud People. I see a couple of new faces or new names here. So just before letting Bill and Claire on the stage, let me just introduce our company first. So the Cloud People is a fairly new ServiceNow partner. We've been in existence for the past 5 years, but we've still amassed quite a lot of consultants, quite a lot of experience on the ServiceNow platform. And we are currently one of the largest ServiceNow partners in EMEA territory with about 400 certified ServiceNow consultants. Currently, we have our main base of operations here in Europe, but we also have offices and locations in North America and South America, Brazil to be exact. But as you see from the map picture here, our focus or our core of our operations is EMEA, European continent, and still missing a couple of bubbles on the Asia Pacific side, but we are working on that in order to be called truly a global player. But we are a Norwegian-led company, hailing our headquarters from Norway, and then having our offices across the globe, as you see in the picture. So why are we here? Why are we talking about Proven Optics? So we as a ServiceNow partner, we come against IT financial management quite often. And the discussion our customers very often approach us is around invoicing. Because ServiceNow is used in customer scenarios to manage time or manage tasks around the organization. So it's natural that that platform would have then information around services being sold, cost of those services, pricing of those services, and then perhaps time used in order to support those services. And in our history, we've built several, let's call them custom solutions, custom applications, specifically around invoicing, and specifically around invoicing in a complex scenario. And that's due to the fact that we have a lot of service providers as our customers, which then need to track time, need to track costs, need to track sold units in order to be able to invoice their customers correctly. And in those discussions where we built custom solutions, we basically started the partnership with Proven Optics. Because Proven Optics has been developing their own solution for years on the ServiceNow platform, and it's fairly advanced. It's already built, and it has functionality that we cannot build custom, or it doesn't make sense for us to build custom. So that is the reason why we are here talking today around Proven Optics. And just a quick word about our company as kind of a partner in your existing ServiceNow environment. So we're a company that is eager to partner up. We're not jealous of your current partners. If you see value from our work, from our consultants, from our offering, we're more than happy. But if you want to work with your current partner, that's also fine for us as well. But we as a company, we're always looking for new solutions, new innovations on top of the ServiceNow platform, of which Proven Optics today is one. And we always look after our end customer. So as said, not too jealous of if you have a multi-vendor strategy. Our service offering is fairly innovative. We have custom development. We are doing business with platform players, but we also have business and we have offerings around specific players who develop on the ServiceNow platform. Plus, coupled with the history of IT financial management, as presented in the previous slide around invoicing, I think Proven Optics and the cloud people is a good match. And we as a team, so yeah, 400 people in the consultancy team, it's world class. We have a lot of experience on ServiceNow, ranging or dating back to 2009 when ServiceNow started in Europe. So we have a lot of different advisors, different type of consultants to choose from. And then if you'd like to hear more, of course, this webinar will be recorded. We will send over material that you requested and we will answer the questions. But we also have already, from previous webinars, we have different recordings on our website. We have some white papers around invoicing. So reach out to us or visit our homepage to find out more. And that's it from me. Now handing it over to Bill.
Thank you so much. Welcome, everyone. My name is Bill Miller, and I'm one of the founding partners and current co-CEO of Proven Optics. And I want to share a little bit about IT financial management or technology business management at TBM, as you may have heard it called, and how Proven Optics is working in this space with various different customers. So I think as we kind of get started, one of the big challenges that we have when we talk to organizations is really about what is the pain point for IT financial management. And it usually falls into one of the four categories you see up here. It takes too long to develop a budget. It's difficult to track budgets. It's difficult to communicate the cost to the consuming units of the technology. And it's difficult to answer questions about why IT costs what it costs. And then when we talk to them about how they're managing through it, typically we find that they're on spreadsheets. Some have purchased solutions from other organizations and trying to figure out how to get their IT financial management practice up and running. Some have built homegrown solutions, and some of them ask the question, what do you mean manage my IT spend? One of the things that we find about why IT financial management practices tend to fail, what is the challenge that really kind of undermines or causes difficulty in the practice as a general rule? And it really falls into one of these categories that we have here on the slide. One of the biggest challenges is there's a lot of manual methods, especially if you're using a spreadsheet, but even some of the automated solutions on the market still require a lot of manual intervention in order to prep data and get data up into the system. We also see that a lot of complexity sometimes around both the model and the way that we manage the data within the model. And those two factors, being manual and being complex, really can undermine the credibility and the trustworthiness of the practice within the organization and can cause a lot of challenges. If we go back to that, set of things that we were talking about 2 slides ago, the ability to effectively talk about what drives IT costs and how that IT cost then gets impacting to the business really requires there be a relatively simple model and a relatively consistent way that we can present information back to the consuming units within the organization. We find organizations sometimes get overly focused on data precision, right? Making sure that this is exactly the right cost down to the decimal point 5 places over. And the reality is that you're never going to get that level of precision, and the over focus on data precision usually is a result of people in the organization not trusting the data they're getting from the IT financial management conversation. They don't trust the financials. They don't trust the costing mechanisms. And so they're pushing back, where did that come from? And if we have a complex or a highly manual method, back to this bullet number 1, it makes it difficult to articulate that and again, build that trust within the system. Budgets are difficult to control and manage. One of the biggest challenges around that is, particularly within technology, budgets are built on an expense account basis: salary, travel, training, hardware, software. But in reality, when we talk about how technology is delivered to the organization, nobody ever is calling and asking, for 2 weeks of salary and a month of depreciation. They're calling and asking, how much does it cost to get a laptop to a new employee? How much does it cost to enable a platform or get somebody engaged on a particular application? Or how much is this project going to cost? And while it does take salary, travel, training, hardware, and software to get all that done, that context is lost. And so we end up looking at budgets through a lens that makes no sense. And that's why they become so difficult to manage. I think cost models can be difficult to understand, and that goes back to that complexity and manual element that we talked about previously. But overly complex cost models are difficult for people who don't live in them daily to understand them. And if I don't understand it, I don't trust it. And if I don't trust it, I'm not going to use it. And I'm going to fall back on other methods in trying to figure out what I need to be doing operationally. A failure to leverage operational data, meaning a model that's only financial. You want to bring in that richness of operational data that allows you to dimensionalize the cost of something against the units that it's being driven by. This helps us understand changes in consumption patterns as a cost driver, which otherwise are typically hidden and difficult to identify. And a failure to define a maturity roadmap is another thing. We don't all start at the end game. We start somewhere in the process, and we have to mature over time. And at making sure that we're clear with our users where we are in that maturity journey and what is next on the list. And Claire, when she talks about where they are at Centrica, she's going to talk a little bit about this is where we are, this is where we're trying to head to. And that's part of that maturity journey for sure. But I think the single biggest fail point is the failure to identify the decisions that you're trying to drive as a result of going and enabling this practice. This practice is not about building budgets. You already have a practice for building budgets. This practice is not about identifying technologies. You already have a practice identifying technologies. This is not a practice focused on figuring out how a customer uses your technology. You already have practices that enable your customers to use your technology. This is about bringing together those 3 elements of that technology, who's using it, and how much it costs in a meaningful and useful way, and identifying the decisions that you want to make as a technology provider, that you want to make as a financial decision matrix within your organization, and what you want your consumers to understand about the choices they make and how that drives cost. Another fail point, or a set of things that are not really related to the physical attributes, but really about the business practice. You need to automate this, because a good, solid practice around IT financial management is sustainable, repeatable, and scalable, meaning I can run the practice or the process once a month. I can scale it big. I can make it small. I can make it sustainable, meaning the data sets that I need to use are always available. But if I don't do that repeatedly, there's not going to be credibility and trust in the model. And if there isn't credibility and trust, it's hard for organizations to build decisions around it. You have to integrate it, meaning it has to be useful to the organization. This information, this data coming back to the organization actually has to be useful. It has to answer the so what, who cares question. So at the end of the day, we go through all this practice and we build out a cost of an application. And that's interesting for about 90 days, and then nobody cares anymore because I'm not sure what you want me to do with that information. So it has to be interesting. And the best models are predictable models, meaning I can think about business decisions and I can predict how I'm going to see those costs show up in the future based on the behaviors of the model in the past. And the last part is about educating, right? And this goes back to that maturity idea. which says the step one in the maturity process is I want to inform people the cost of the technology they're consuming. The second step is I want to link the decisions they make in their business to the technology they consume and how that drives technology costs. And the final stage in that practice, I want you to decide, meaning I want you to be predictive. As you think about the business, how the business consumes technology, what are your technology costs going to look like in the future based on the goals your business has? Those becomes important integral parts of making the IT financial management practice part of how the organization operates. And this is why we talk about IT financial management being so critical. It's critical because the business expects value from its IT investments. And at the end of the day, if we can't connect what we're spending on technology with the value that it brings to the business, we're not meeting that expectation. And that's a cause for a lot of challenges that organizations have internally. Within our experience, why do organizations adopt an ITFM or a TBM practice? It's usually one of three things they're trying to achieve. IT efficiencies, they want to reduce cost. IT optimization, they want to make sure they're spending their money on the right technologies. And the last part is about IT value, which is really, is the technology spend driving strategic outcomes or the kinds of growth that we want within our organization? And do we have decision levers that leadership can pull on in order to change the cost dynamics of the technology that they're consuming? And typically you can see in the percentages about 45% of the initial phone calls are how can I get costs down or how can I contain costs? Eventually we talked about how do we maintain or invest more efficiently with our IT investments. The other element of IT financial management is this concept of running IT like a business. And at the end of the day, this concept is one that is a maturity level view with technology, and how technology delivers within our organization really is driven by our ability to understand three key elements, which is IT management. That's where you have your decisions, prioritizations, you have your consumer engagements, your project and portfolio management, your governance, your security. It's really about that overarching IT management. And by the way, there's a cost associated with building out an organization that has those functional management capabilities in IT management. But IT management is also the place where we most often interact with the consumers of our services internally. That's where we're talking about that prioritization, or we're talking about projects, or we're talking about consumption of IT services and technologies. Underpinning that are two elements. One is delivery and operations, which is where we actually build the technologies and then we support them. We have incident and project and contract execution and all the elements that are the primary functions of an IT department. And then we have a financial side of the house, which is where we're really trying to understand what it takes to deliver and be effective with our costs in relationship both to how we're trying to prioritize things and how we're trying to deliver things. And these ideas come together and they're connected. And the idea that the data is both financial data and operational data is why a product like Proven Optics that pulls in that financial realm and a platform like ServiceNow that pulls in all that operational data becomes an easy hub where I can connect the dots between what things cost, what gets delivered, and who is consuming it. And it is this basis for when we go to that last stage, which is how do I make decisions? And it's the trade-off between price, performance, and risk. We want our businesses to understand there's no such thing as better performance at a lesser price. If there is, we would have bought that. That's an easy thing to figure out. We would have done it. So if you want better performance, typically that means your costs are going up. Similarly, there isn't lower risk for lesser price, because if there was, we would have bought that. So if you're trying to drive your risk down, you're generally going to have to spend more. So now the question is, how can I connect these views effectively so that the business who needs the service and the technology, the department that's delivering the service and the technology, and the cost associated with it can be cleanly shown on a regular basis, consistently viewed in the context of price, performance, and risk. So Proven Optics brings together with ServiceNow this idea of being able to do a cost model, being able to do budgets in the context of services, being able to do show back. And as Hans was talking about, there's even folks who want to get into invoicing and move beyond on just doing show back. So lots of ways that Proven Optics can help enable an organization to have the characteristics and the capabilities on platform in an automated way that enables them to deliver effectively on this space. Because it's on ServiceNow, one of the very, very nice things or cool things about being on ServiceNow, you already understand ServiceNow, you already understand its security profile, you've already got data typically on the platform that can be used, that operational data. Our code's 100% native. We don't have to leave the platform and go to a different cloud anywhere. We stay right on that platform. So from a security standpoint, it's 100% contained and it's in your instance, so you don't have to worry about security things. And with ServiceNow's low-code foundation, extending anything that's in the base application, new fields, additional functionality, modifying workflows, so simple, very easy to do, and allows you to really kind of create the kind of experience that you want within that environment. We don't require any ServiceNow modules to operate our applications, but any module you have, because it's on platform, we can access that data with your permission and bring it into the application for you to use. So with that, I'd love to turn it over to Claire over at Centrica to talk about how Centrica is using Proven Optics to drive outcomes within their organization.
Thank you very much, Bill. I thought I'd just spend a tiny bit of time just sort of give you a bit more background to me. I'm actually reasonably new to the IT world. I've only been in this particular role for about 4 years now. I'm actually a chartered accountant by training, so I've spent the vast majority of my career as doing financial management and looking at costs. And I've been at Centrica for about 12, 13 years now. I'm saying that because I can't exactly remember, but it's been a while. And I've done a number of different jobs while I've been here. I've started off in finance. I've been in the project management world. I've been in the risk management world, and I'm now in IT. And I think a lot of that experience gives me a really good grounding and a really good platform for being very nosy about what we spend our money on. So I've got a vested interest in understanding what we spend our money on, but I'm interested to see also in the way that we can use technology to do that better. And so my presentation is just talking about 4 key things really, which is why we decided to implement cost modeling. Obviously taking into account Bill's presentation, I have some reflections on that as I was watching it through, which I'll talk about at the end. So why did we decide to implement cost modeling? What were the key factors that we took into consideration when we were choosing to work with Proven Optics? How we're currently using the model, but more importantly, I think then is to come on to what we want to do next with the model, because I was reflecting, Bill, on your slides and thinking there's so many things that I can remember us talking about at the beginning. And even though I know that we've achieved so much, I'm actually still conscious of all the things that we haven't done. And actually, watching your presentation, I was actually thinking, oh goodness me, we haven't done that yet. We haven't done that yet. Haven't done that yet, and would be great to. But I think I'm also quite pleased, and hopefully everyone will see when we start going through our slides that we've actually done quite a lot. It's just that there's so much more that we could be doing. And I guess you have to start somewhere. So let me go into my first slides, which is why did we decide? Again, some of this will, as you see, resonate with what Bill said. So our budgets are set at cost center level, and they are generally, but this is in the IT world, I would say. Obviously, in most businesses would have their budget set at cost center level, and then by vendor. Now that obviously makes perfect sense because we have cost centers that are aligned to certain managers, and that manager can be in control of that cost center and knows what their costs are. But it doesn't give anybody visibility of costs of individual applications or platforms in the actual architecture of the technology that underpins the business. And therefore, when people are trying to build business cases, maybe for an alternative solution or a different service, as Bill mentioned, it becomes complex and time consuming. You have multiple spreadsheets. You're trying to bring in data from lots of different places into one place so that you can actually get some information that actually enables you to make informed decisions. So what were the factors that we took into consideration then when we were looking to work with Proven Optics? We had about 40 functional and non-functional requirements that we would pull together. We brought in representatives from not just within the central IT function, but from our other technology teams around the business, as we've actually got a decentralized structure for technology at Centrica. So we brought together a group of people into a working group, and we built up this functional and non-functional requirements list. And then we went out to market, and as you would expect, we did an RFP. We talked to a number of suppliers, and we had a number of suppliers in to give us presentations, obviously one of which was Proven Optics. But the two key reasons why we chose to go with Proven Optics in the end was that we are quite heavy users of the ServiceNow platform. So we have service management, we have project management, we do some asset management as well. There's probably some other modules as well that we use that I actually, as a non-technology person, not entirely sure what they are, but we've got some really key modules of ServiceNow in play for us. So the beauty of this particular offering was that we could integrate with our existing platform and our existing information. I think we also felt, and I guess this is a sense that we got from working with you, Bill, and some of the other members of the team, is that it would really give us an opportunity to feed into your future product roadmap. It was almost this sense of being a sort of almost in partnership, although I mean it's not a formal partnership, but it's a very much doing things in tandem. So I have regular sessions with your development team, Bill, and we talk about the pain points that we're experiencing. They also share with us the new functionality that's coming, or the changes that are coming in the platform, and they can weave some of our pain points into that development work, and I think that was really useful for us. So we had a brief implementation period, and I'm actually, as a reflection on that, even though the implementation period was probably quite short, the learning did not stop there, and actually we launched the tool in January 22. But I would say it has taken, and it took me, who's the main user of the module, quite some time really for it to sink in and for me to understand really what we could do with the model. So albeit that the actual implementation itself was reasonably short, the learnings have really carried on since then. And we've now got 3 full years of technology spend in the model. So we've got 21 through to 23, although, as I've just said, that learning piece has increased over time. So I would say I try to encourage my users not really to look back at the 2021 numbers anymore, because we've really refined the way that we use the model. We've gone into more detail. We've been a bit more. We've just gone into more detail and been a bit more thorough about the way that we allocate spend within the model. So I don't feel as happy with my 2021 numbers as I did at the time, and we've just refined as we've gone through, basically. So how are we using the model? Our main driver for using the model, and Bill mentioned it before, was to derive a total cost of ownership for applications in our reference architecture. We have the application portfolio management module of ServiceNow. We have teams of enterprise architects who maintain those records and want to understand the cost of their applications. We're a business that's been running for a long time, so we have quite a mixed estate of some legacy applications that were probably on a more traditional style, so they have a licensing element. They're hosted somewhere, whether that be the public cloud or actually a private cloud that we have, and then they have those support costs for some of those applications as well. We've also got some applications that come into the mix, and this has increased as time has gone on, that are software as a service. So you don't tend to see those elements being prevalent when you have software as a service. It's also bound up into that charge that you get. But the key thing for us, and you can see that visual there, and that visual is actually from an out of the box dashboard that is delivered as part of the offering. And that's just a pie chart showing you the different elements of cost that make up an application cost. So it's multifactorial. I think that's the point I'm trying to make there. Right. The next way that we are using it is we are taking that application spend and then allocating it to the different hierarchies in our reference architecture. So applications sit on a platform, and then a platform sits as part of the layer in our architecture. The architecture was not defined by me, was defined by the architects, and that linkage is actually in the APM module, in the application portfolio management module. But what we do is we can link that information that we've derived from the cost model by application, and then link it through to platforms. You'll see that is just quite a simple chart at the moment. We're currently doing that in Power BI, but one of the things that I want to do is really work now with Bill and the team and start to look more deeper and richer reporting. And I'll come on to that on one of my later slides. But for the minute, we've done some of this linking using the different modules of ServiceNow, but we've connected them in Power BI. To be fair, it's something we were already doing quite a lot of in other parts of the business. So a lot of our operational data, again, we're doing a lot of ServiceNow reporting, but within Power BI, which just gives us that extra flexibility of joining different parts of the modules together. Now that we've got that, obviously that means that our enterprise architects can look at business cases, can create roadmaps, and that roadmap is really a plan for each part of the business on what the architecture looks like. So we obviously have a view of what the as-is architecture looks like. We know where we want to get to, and that roadmap is going from A to B with changes along the way. And the cost model enables us to monitor those changes, to look at dual running costs while we might be implementing new parts of the architecture, but also it enables us to look at if the timing of a particular project changes, what impact that has on our costs as well. So the next element is around business units. So you can see we've got a myriad of different business units, all who do different things for the customer in different ways, who have different technology, different requirements for technology. And as I mentioned before, we have our technology teams decentralized. So we have the bulk of the spend sitting essentially, and that tends to be more on the foundational capabilities and shared capabilities. But as you move further up the architecture to elements that are more closely aligned to the customer, they are likely to be managed by the teams in the business who are sitting in the business and are much closer to the customer and the customer's needs and what they need from their technology. Now that actually made that quite hard, therefore, to try and for us to get one tech, that's our terminology. So what is our spend on technology? We know what it is in the center, but what about the other parts of the business? So what we've done, and we didn't do this in the very beginning, and I think that's why I referenced the fact that my 2021 numbers were not as comprehensive, because we only started to bring in the other business parts of the business spend into the model in 2022. And we've had to go through a process of agreeing which cost centers, therefore, to use and to consume in the model. But we've gone through that process. Obviously, something we're continuing to refine. No business ever stays the same. It changes. It moves around. It has some business units that might be in one place in 1 year, but then it might be decided that actually they should sit in a organizationally somewhere else. That's normal. I would expect most people to have experienced that, but my point is that we are still changing as you would expect us to, and having to incorporate extra pockets of cost back into the model again. But what we can do is we can put that into the cost model and bring together a single view of technology spend, and that is really, really powerful for all of our users. Just a slight aside in the sense that there are some costs that do not align to applications, as you would expect. Things like end user computing, for example, a lot of our security services and infrastructure doesn't align to applications. And so what we've done with those is we've categorized them into different pots of non-application spend. So hardware support, application support, communication type costs. Given us more granularity. We could have chosen not to do anything with those and just leave them at high level, but no, we've chosen to segment them, and I think that enables us to do much more rich benchmarking against industry standards. I mean, an example there could be end user compute, and also again, we have roadmaps that don't just cover applications; it does cover our non-application based spend as well. So going down into this extra level of detail enables us to make sure that we're still aligning with our strategy. Essentially, it just gives us extra granularity, and again, it's information so we can make informed decisions. I feel like that's the strap line all the way through my presentation, is that at each stage we're assessing and getting information that enables us to make more informed decisions and better quality decisions. I mentioned that we have multiple business units and that we aggregate cost into the model for different business units, but what we also do is for spend that is driven from the centre, we go through a process where we try to derive who is actually driving that cost, who's actually responsible for that particular cost being in existence, or if that cost goes up or down. And we call that the consuming business unit. Now, we use a field in the in APM, the application portfolio management module, that our enterprise architects again maintain. So not me, but they maintain this field that says this is the application, and the business units that are using this application are A, B, and C. And then we run through a process, and we have to do this slightly outside of the model because we have a number of applications, and quite a lot actually, where they're shared. And getting to that proportion of how we share across them is a bit challenging. We've obviously got a number of different ways in which we can do that, but we've essentially used that aggregation of that information to apportion application costs. And what that actually means is then that our stakeholders can look at all the technology costs, whether it be costs that they pay for themselves, or whether it be ones that we pay for centrally that they consume. They can see an aggregated view of all of their technology costs. And again, that enables our stakeholders to build their business charters, to understand their roadmaps, and actually see what they are costs they're responsible for. So quite often when our costs move up and down, it enables us to actually have a really good idea of why they've gone up. Well, actually, it's gone up because this particular business unit is using more of this element of the architecture. They've bought more licenses on this particular application, and therefore the cost has gone up. We might be paying for it, but when I say we, I'm sorry, I'm referring to the centre there. So the centre may be paying for it, but the centre's costs of flex depending on what the business requires and needs at a certain point in time. I think that's what I'm trying to drive at there. I hope that's clear. The other thing that we've done, and this is I only did that this year, this is a new development of this year, was actually putting a budget view into the model. Took me a long time, Bill, and I can see you're nodding, but it really took me a long time, and I guess it was because we've not done it this way before. So we actually built a budget at application level, which was something that the business had never done. And then we essentially built our budget from the bottom up, using the historic data that we got the previous 2 years. So actually, we've built a budget in for 2024 and actually out to 29 as well. And that obviously enables us to track actuals against budget. Again, it will enable us to keep that strategic alignment and make sure that we're keeping to our plans and our roadmaps. And also really nicely, this is where we start coming back into cost savings. To be fair, I would say that's probably, that cost saving piece is enabled by all of the things we've done. But it is really
we lost audio there.
Yeah, and we lost Claire altogether, I think. Let's give her a couple of minutes if she gets back in. In the meanwhile, hey, Bill, we had a couple of questions from the audience. I think
Sure.
we can take a couple of ones here. So I think the first one from Ant is around CSDM model and the new iteration of it from ServiceNow, CSDM 5. So how does the proven optics model fit into the CSDM model?
Yeah, our cost modeling product's actually built to accept any model. There's actually 5 or 6 models out and about in the sphere of modeling that's out in the world. So the common services data model, and in any version we can accept into the cost model. We accept the TBM model. We accept the ITIL model. We accept the EDUCAUSE model. We accept the Prince model. So any modeling functionally that you have, and what we find most organizations don't have the whole model done. They have some portions of it. We also find that, like for common service data model, a lot of the elements might be more architectural. Like we're trying to understand from an architectural variation what it is that we're doing, but not all those variations need costed. And so we can, within the model, modify or categorize or group elements of the CSDM in a way that financially might make more sense versus the detail of the architecture. But basically, if you got a model, we can accommodate it.
Cool, thanks, Bill. Then a second one was, which ServiceNow modules should be implemented as prerequisite to proven optics? What do you normally see?
Most organizations at least have service level management or some kind of element of the help desk. Ticket tracking, that's a great place to pull operational data from, which is fantastic. Organizations, some have APM, some have CMDB. CMDB, probably one of the more challenging modules, so various levels of maturity in the CMDB. We see some organizations sometimes have CMDB, they don't even want to use it because they're not, like, it's not mature and clean. APM, SPM, PPM, all of those can be used. The reality is you don't need any of them. So at the end of the day, depends on kind of what everybody's ServiceNow footprint's slightly different. And so it really can come with whatever you have available on ServiceNow. ServiceNow as a platform, and therefore Proven Optics as a deployment on ServiceNow, can ingest data literally from anywhere. So if you have another system where you're tracking incidents, if you have another system where you're managing security profiles, if you have another system where you're tracking infrastructure characteristics, a cloud bill, for example, if you want to bring in a cloud invoice that has all that detail, ServiceNow can ingest that data, and then that can become available not only for use within like CMDB, but also within Proven Optics. So you can use just Proven Optics by itself. I've had one customer start their ServiceNow journey with Proven Optics, so I know you can do it with nothing else. But most customers at least have service level management or some form of ticketing implemented.
Cool. All right. Then next one was from Rupesh. Hi, Rupesh. Would be interesting to see a debt reduction roadmap. Is this something you've come against?
Is it debt reduction? And referencing technical debt or financial debt?
Yeah, technical debt.
Yeah, absolutely. Technical debt is a massive discussion point. And part of the process in the modeling is we can characterize the architectural standards that you have that you're considering to be outdated. Sometimes we can look at it very basic, like if you have asset management, we can look at the implementation date of the asset and see, score the portfolio based on what's a year old, what's 36 months, what's 60 months, what's beyond 60 months in age, if you want to do it that way. But if you have a specific retirement plan for an application, for example, we can model up separately what is the infrastructure and or applications that you want to retire, and you can rationalize them with their replacements. And one of the nice things about the model, because it's living and it's organic and it moves and it gets updated regularly, is you can actually watch as that technical debt drops down. In other words, the usage of a particular application gets less and less, and whatever its replacement is goes up and up. And then you always have your last resistant folks, right? And they're holding up a lot of cost because they won't come off that old platform or that old application. And you can show it very readily to say, hey, you're now costing exponential because you're the last holdout on a particular set of infrastructure or a particular application that we continue to support. So absolutely can manage tech debt, absolutely can not only get the process identified, but monitor that over the period of time, because as we all know, that could take 3, 4, 5 years, even if you're aggressive on it, to get folks off of an older application or an older platform or older infrastructure.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Bill. And the final question we have from the audience is how does this apply to a franchise business model? So how can we adapt this to 100 different companies?
I'm trying to think kind of if I can read between the lines of the question, because I would have more questions about franchise model and what you're trying to accomplish. But a couple of things come to mind. If you're a central organization and you're providing services out to a number of different consumers, even if they live in a different P&L, even if they live in a different country, region, whatever, you can absolutely look at the model both in terms of what is the total service I'm delivering, and then look at the consumption patterns and track who's using it. So you can look at that. And Hans, that gets back to what you talk about with invoicing, right? So you have a couple of methodologies. One is to just show them, and the other is to actually get to an invoicing where you're actually recovering costs from those franchises through an invoicing process. If that's the kind of context you're talking about, absolutely do it all the time.
Yeah, I think Arndt just rephrased the question. So the question is coming from a retail perspective. So a store setup. So a store has a wide variety of IT assets and systems, which I think differ then. So does the same answer apply?
So if you're looking at like the technology in the store, whether that's the point of sale system, an inventory tracking management system, we have the same issue in healthcare with the hospitals and clinics, like the IoT that sits out actually within the facilities themselves. Absolutely. Anything that you can technically define, you can put in the model and you can manage that cost structure. And then if you're providing support services, either on-site or remotely, you can identify that cost, and you can actually label it out to a per unit basis or a time and materials basis, whatever makes sense in terms of the actual technology you're supporting.
Cool. Thanks, Bill. So it would seem that Claire has dropped off. So I want to. Perfect timing. We're just through some couple of questions, so you can continue where you dropped off.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
I had problems with my earphones, and then I was getting all sorts of messages about browsers, so I just did a reboot and I'm back. So where was I? I was talking about actual versus budget and how much of a challenge it had been, and how much cost savings were unlocked at every stage of the process. And then I was going to talk about next steps. So one of the things that I mentioned, I've talked a lot about our enterprise architects, but they've really worked hard to improve the data quality in APM. And so there's lots of other attributes that they maintain or considering maintaining, which would then enable us to actually just do more reporting on the application spend. So whether that be a SaaS product, if it was a homegrown app, or whether it was one that was off the shelf. And also against application status as well. So linking back to those roadmaps that we've got, we have applications where they are planned to be retired and replaced with something else, or whether that would be one that's strategic. So again, it just this extra reporting basically. So it's wanting to link much more with APM, and we've already started those conversations with Bill and the team. The other piece we want to do is link it more closely with SPM, which is the old ITBM, so the project management module. We've our delivery managers and project managers now
populating a record in SPM that is called the impact of business application. So they're filling that in, and that means that what we can then do is we can say, well, we've been aggregating all of this run costs, and I hope everyone's broadly.
Claire, can I interrupt? Sorry, the voice is a bit shallow. Can you hold the microphone a bit closer to the?
Sure, is that better?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. These are rubbish earphones. So we've all of what I've been talking about before now is what we call run spend, and I hope everyone's broadly understanding of. You have a spend that you incur to keep the platform running. Then anytime you want to change anything, enhance it, or potentially do any upgrades, then that we class that as what we call change spend, and we record our change spend in projects. And at the moment, the model really only analyses run spend. Going to this next level would really enable us to bring in that change element as well, which I think is really, really vital and a question that I get asked. So we want to talk with Bill and the team about how we can make those two modules talk much more closely. And then finally, and this is the really nitty-gritty, and it's going to be quite a challenge, is the next stage of scenario planning. So actually, those what ifs. So what if project X is moved by 6 months? What if we bring the retirement date of an application a year forward? What if we re-platform this particular application from a data center to a private cloud? We've got, it's almost like we're a victim of our own success in the sense that the more information you give people, the more they want. And I've got calls in the next few weeks with some of my senior stakeholders to talk about what we've currently got, but what is it they want to do next. But they do always keep coming back to this scenario planning piece. So we can answer some of these questions, but we would like to do it. We would like to be able to answer more of them. And I think that's the main focus of the work. So there's the two pieces, linking more to APM, linking more to SPM, and then there's that pulling it all together with scenario planning. And if I recall, that's my final slide. Sorry about that. What did I miss?
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Claire. So the voice was a bit vague in the end, but I think we all managed to get through.
Okay.
So with that, it's the end of the webinar. I want to thank especially Claire and Bill for taking part in this. If you'd like to quickly answer a poll that we've just launched, so would you like to know more about this webinar or the topics of the webinar, please answer it. And the last thing I want to remind our audience today is that we are very much present in different events. We're hosting interesting webinars as we speak. I think the next ones are going to be the ServiceNow World Forums in Rotterdam and in Munich. And then we have a Xanadu and Procurement Operations webinar coming up just shortly. So thank you all for joining. Have a very productive rest of the day. And thank you to the speakers today, and take care.